Good morning, boys and girls. Another fall day, but different today. Not windy and a little bit of a drizzle. Not too much, but a little bit, and it's chilly. Have you heard your moms and dads talking about voting? It's a very important responsibility they have, and when you're 18 years old, you're going to be able to vote in the elections too. Voters have to learn about things. They read and they listen to things so that they know who they want to vote for, who they think will make their country a better place. Now, when you're in middle school or high school, you might get to vote there for other students that are going to be on the council, and you think that they'll make your school a better place. Now, when you have a chance to vote, you're going to be making very important choices, and it's a hard, hard job. Did you ever begin to wonder what the president's job is? Well, I brought a book with me today that will explain a little bit if you ever got to be president. Now, our book today is If I Were President, and it's written by Catherine Steer and illustrated by Diane DeSalvo Ryan. Look at, there's a little person in the chair at the White House. Let's see what that would all be like. This should be fun. You have to use your imagination a little bit, right? It would be great to be President of the United States. If I were president, that means after a big campaign with speeches and posters and TV ads, the people would have chosen me as their leader. Years of planning and hard work would have prepared me for the day. Well, let's see what it would be like now that you got to be president. If I were president, I'd promise to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States because that would be my job. Then I'd move into a mansion. It's called the White House, and more than 100 rooms are in that house. And I'd have to remember my new address. It would be 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. There's the White House and our flag of the United States of America. If I were president, I could go bowling or I could visit a movie theater without ever leaving my house. And I'd have my own chef, so I could order whatever I wanted. I think I'd have 2 desserts every night. There she is. And here comes an extra dessert. Think about what you might order, huh? If I were president, I'd start work early each morning in the Oval Office, and although I try to do what's best for my country every day, not everyone would agree with my decisions, but I'd get help making those decisions with a group of people called my cabinet. All of these people work together with the president. They're called a cabinet. And if I were president, the people would be my boss, and I'd have to find out what they wanted. It wouldn't be easy. Different people would want different things. If I were president, I'd be in charge of the armed forces. That's the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. See them giving the salute? And if I were president, each year I'd give a speech to Congress called the State of the Union. All over the country, people would be watching and listening, and I would talk about how our country was doing, and I would suggest ways that we could solve our problems. Look at all the people that come to the State of the Union. It's a very important evening. Imagine creating laws for a whole country. That's something Congress and I would work on together. Congress would present bills, which are new ideas of new laws, and if I didn't like an idea, I could say no. That would be called a veto. And if I agreed, I would sign the bill and it would become a law. If I were president, the agents of the Secret Service would guard me. Everywhere I go, they would go, even if I'm on a little ride at the park. They're there to protect the President of the United States. And if I were president, I'd travel in my limousine or my own private airplane called Air Force One. United States of America. There's our flag again. I'd meet with leaders of other nations, and maybe together we could work to improve our world. These are people from the press taking pictures, and there I am meeting someone from another country. If I were president, I'd comfort families that had been in an earthquake or a hurricane or a flood, and then I'd help them rebuild their towns. If I were president, one of my favorite jobs would be passing out medals to people who had done very brave deeds. That's important too. We have to honor people. If I were president in the spring, I would toss out the first pitch in baseball season. And in the winter, I'd get to light the nation's holiday tree. Those are special, special privileges for the President of the United States. And if I were president, my words and my pictures would appear in newspapers and magazines all over the world. See all the people reading the president's words? Even my dog would make the headlines. It says right here, President's dog has puppies. Lots of our presidents have had puppies and dogs, and so they always are very, very famous. If I were president, the house that I grew up in would be famous. People would ask my mom for a tour of everything, even my tree house. So you see, we have the president's house, and there's all notes. Took the garbage out here, and I watered these flowers, and I climbed this tree, and I slept in this room, and I swung this bat. They'd show everything, and there's the tree house, because that house becomes very famous so that we get to learn about who the president was when they were young. If I were president, people could only elect me twice. That's 8 years altogether. Then I'd have to find a new job and a new house. Soon, a new president with new ideas would move into the White House. But just like me, the new president would work very hard for the good of the country. If I were president, there might even make a statue of me like the white marble statue of Abraham Lincoln at Lincoln Memorial. Or we also have Mount Rushmore, where there are presidents' heads carved into the mountain. Or someday my face might even be on the country's money. Did you know President Lincoln is on our penny, Jefferson is on the nickel, and President Washington is on our dollar bill? That's really important. Well, who knows? Someday I just might be President of the United States. Well, that gives you something to think about what you would do if you were president. This past weekend, there was a little magazine in the newspaper, and it also asked if I were president. This lady right up here said, everybody would take a gardening or a farming class. And the little girl says, well, I would dance. I would dance 14 times a day, and everybody else would too. And we'd all be very happy and strong. And this teacher said, I would make sure that all of my students had all the things they needed to be good students at school. Another person said, I would make sure all the children had lots of books. And I would do my very, very best to be a good listener. And I would make sure that every grown-up gets to vote. So you see, everybody's interested in making sure that they would do a good job. So now when you hear grown-ups talking about voting soon, you'll know what they're talking about. And when you get to be a grown-up, I hope you will take advantage of that very special privilege too. So have a good week, and be sure to think about what you're going to do if you get to be president, boys and girls, because I know you'd all do a great job. I'll see you next week. Bye now.